welcome back. So today I have a friend with me here, Elizabeth. She's from Austria, if you're wondering what her accent is. So hey, Elizabeth, thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So why don't you tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
So I'm from Austria. I'm a law student, and I have a YouTube channel called The Biblical Bookworm. Check it out. It's probably in the description. And now I'm doing a video with Amber Rose.
No, that's awesome. I love your videos. They're like really in-depth in a lot of like Catholic books and gives you a lot of reading inspiration too. So today we're going to be talking about basically the Christian approach to beauty, the differences in Austria and America, how models and bodybuilders actually aren't the most confident people in the world as we originally thought, based off social media and TV, and also how to deal with vanity, what vanity is, and basically just kind of get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. So are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I guess the first question is, what is your take on vanity and modesty in Austria?
I think that it's a complicated problem because, of course, we as Christians try to avoid vanity. We try not to sin, and we know the vanity is a sin, so that's a bit complicated here. And at the same time, we should be beautiful. We have to be beautiful in some way. And I think that's probably the same thing in the US. I mean, I believe you struggle with the same thing, that you have to balance those two things out. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, we definitely struggle a little bit more. I know in Austria, you guys don't have as many clothing options. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. Whereas in the United States, we have almost too many clothing options, in my opinion. It kind of feeds into that whole consumer mentality.
Yeah, we don't have many clothing options for modest clothing. So
modest clothing. Okay. Yeah, no, that's definitely a problem. I know for a fact when I was younger, I followed all these models and everything, and I was always just like, oh my gosh, like I want to be like them, and I want their body, I want their hair, I want their skin. And most of that stuff is actually Photoshop. It's not realistic. I mean, they can be healthy, they can be beautiful, but that is all on a realistic expectation, and then Photoshop kind of creates this unrealistic expectation where it's like their skin is perfectly smooth, there's no wrinkles, there's no cellulite, or even for the bodybuilders.
Even if we only take what they can attain naturally, it still, I believe, is an unnatural goal for most people to achieve. That's not what the average person can look like. And also, even if we attain that look, models are not satisfied with their looks. Actually, it's a funny fact, or it's an interesting fact, that models or bodybuilders tend to be the most insecure people on the planet because they care so much about how they look, and because that's the most important part of their career, they actually are extremely insecure. And I've sent you that one video where a model talks about in a TED talk how while she was being photoshopped, while she had a photo shot, she was extremely insecure because everyone was staring at her. So I think that's encouraging for us to not try to look like them, because not everything that is gold, not everything that glitters is gold. So
right. No, you're right. And on top of that, you used to be a bodybuilder or into that, weren't you? Like you were kind of in that field.
I mean, I had a phase in my life where I wanted to become a bodybuilder, so I thought about competing, but then I decided not to do it because it's just the cost of it. It's not worth it. I mean, apart from the fact that bodybuilders are not satisfied with their looks, it's also extremely unhealthy, actually. I believe that many people don't know that, but for female bodybuilders, it's a fact that in order to have a six-pack, you have to go below 20% body fat percentage. But in order to have your menstrual cycle, you have to stay above 20% body fat percentage, which means that if you want to compete as a female bodybuilder, you have to live with the fact that at least for a certain period of time during the year, you do not have your menstrual cycle, which for women is a sign that they're not healthy. And a similar thing is true for male bodybuilders, because, and we will probably link that in the description as well, Greg Doucette said in an interview that when he is preparing for the competition, he actually does not trust himself enough to drive a car, and he lets someone else drive the car to the competition because he's so nauseous and his brain doesn't function well because he didn't eat, he didn't drink anything. And also male bodybuilders get impotent if their body fat percentage drops too low. So that really isn't something we should strive for.
Right. No, for sure. And I think this is a good time to kind of touch on what vanity is. Did you want to talk about that or did you want me to?
You can start if you want.
Yeah, so basically, vanity in the Christian sense is when we care too much or too little about what someone thinks. So, a lot of the times, this can be wrapped up in I need to do my hair perfectly because so and so is going to be there and I want them to think I look good. Or it could be as small as I don't want people to notice me because I'm shy and I don't really want people to acknowledge that I exist. It could also be the fact that you don't want to share your faith or you share your faith too much based off of what people think. So basically, what we want to do to combat that is to look more into how God views us and not what other people view us. Obviously, we have to care about other people's opinions of us because, we're a communal species, we're together. And so we do have to be considerate of others. But when it becomes disordered, we become vain. And so that's kind of like a little tidbit.
There is a great video by Father Mike Schmitz where he explains that exact problem. He says that that vanity is if we care about our appearance or what other people think of us in an inordinate way, if we think about that too much. He says that of course we have to think about that in a certain sense, but he says that I mean just what was also interesting what he mentioned it is that someone who, for example, works out or who cares about his or her appearance doesn't mean that those people are necessarily vain. Because, for example, you could just brush your hair once, make it look good, and then not think about it for the rest of the day. Or someone who likes to work out just likes to exercise and likes how it makes him feel, and it doesn't necessarily make that in order for other people to admire that look or something like that. So not everything, not caring for your look isn't bad. It's actually necessary to a certain degree, and I believe it's important for Christians to understand in what way that's important. For example, if we say that we should care about how God views us, what do you think about how what is important for God? How we look, is that important at all?
I mean, I think it definitely depends because especially when we go to church and things, we want to be presentable to Christ, because we are before the creator himself. It's not like we're just going to the mall or anything. It depends on the circumstances, of course, because certain attire is going to be more appropriate. Like at a rodeo, you're going to wear jeans and a t-shirt. You're not going to be wearing a gala. I think it also depends on intention. Like you said, I think that's very important, is the fact that it depends on intention and what people are doing. Like you can be a bodybuilder and do it for the sake of people, and that's considered vain. But you could also be a bodybuilder and just do it because it makes you feel good. Well, not like a bodybuilder, but you exercise because it makes you feel good. You don't think twice about what other people see.
You can exercise, yeah, exactly.
And so I think that's a very important distinction, because I think a lot of people feel like, am I being vain if I work out? Am I being vain if I wear a muscle shirt? I'm like, well, why are you wearing the muscle shirt? Why are you working out? Like, is it for the approval of others, or is it because it's healthy for you and you're taking care of the body that God gave you? And so that's a very important distinction. So I'm glad you brought that up. But when it comes to like different attire,
I also think
no, go ahead.
I also think that it's important to not go to the other extreme and to think that it's probably the safest if we don't care about our appearance at all, because that might be something that especially Christians, are tempted to think, because that seems to be the safest option. But I've been reflecting on that a little bit, and Father Mike posted a video like 2 days ago where he says that that God is not our grandma. And I would like to use that sentence in an analogy to what we're discussing today, because we might think that our grandma doesn't care about how we look, right? We think that God loves us unconditionally. But the point that Father Mike made in that video was that God is not our grandma. He is actually rather a spouse. So we should act in his presence, not as like that's a grandma, we can do everything around her, but like our spouse, and we try to look presentable if we are around our spouse. And I think that's an approach we can also use for appearance. That if you would just dress differently when you're with your spouse than when you're with your grandma, I think.
No, I completely agree. And I also think it depends on like how you were raised too, because I know for a fact, like a lot of people, at least in the United States, they were raised to wear like booty shorts and like crop tops and tank tops, and that was just the norm, you know? And so when they see people dressing modestly, they think, oh, it's unstylish, it's frumpy, it's, why shouldn't I show my body off for others, you know, because I work so hard on it and things like that. But I always think to myself, I'm like, A, modesty can be very fashionable if you know how to, you know, make it work. And then B, also, honestly, I'm more comfortable when I'm modest. I'm more myself when I'm modest, and I can lift my arms up and my stomach's not showing. Or I can like, I can sit down and my butt cheeks aren't glued to a seat. You know, like, I'm just saying I'm more comfortable when I'm modest, you know, and I'm wearing like shorts that go halfway down my thigh.
That's completely true. Talking about what you mentioned, that we can look good when we are modest. I mean, just think about Kate Middleton, for example. She's always dressed modestly, and she looks absolutely beautiful. So that's an example. That's basically the proof that being modest is fashionable, can be fashionable. And the second thing, of course, modesty is more comfortable, and it also shifts the focus away from your body to you as a person and you as a being, because we have to remember that in the Judeo-Christian philosophy, we are body and soul combined. We cannot divide those. We cannot be just the body or just the soul. So we always have to remember that. And by dressing modestly, we shift the focus away from our body. And I think that's also really helpful and might help people to understand why modesty is an important topic.
Oh, definitely. I also think, especially nowadays, people think that their beauty is dependent on A, what other people think of them, B, what they wear, or C, however much makeup they can pack onto their face. And I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but at least when I go on social media, that's what I see the most. Like, their beauty standards are how much makeup I can wear, what's the most revealing clothing I can wear, and, you know, whatever else. And I think specifically the thing we've lost today is understanding that beauty comes from the inside, not what we wear on the outside. That can come second. But if your beauty comes from the inside, and you're understanding that you are a child of God and you have confidence in that, that will shine through no matter what you wear. And usually when we have that confidence in who we are not seeking the approval of others. And so we are less likely to dress immodestly. Because I think that's one of the reasons we do dress immodestly, is for the approval of others and to see how people will react to it. Or because our peers are doing it too. And we want to follow what our peers are doing or what the world's doing, because it's interesting, it gets attention. And it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of our generation is drawn to.
Definitely. And I mean, we can take a practical example of the fact that beauty comes from the inside, at least from a woman's perspective, because I don't know, Ambrose, do you find bodybuilders attractive? Let's take a practical example here. Do you think that's a desirable thing? Do you want to, I don't know, to date someone who's a bodybuilder? Do you think that's attractive generally?
Maybe in the caveman era when I was fighting for my life against a jaguar, but not anymore. I mean, you wanted somebody strong back then. Yeah. But nowadays, I think the reason as a woman I find it so unattractive is because I know that those results are not healthy, and they're obtained in an unnatural way, usually through drugs or some other type of steroid. And so I think because of that, it's a red flag instantly.
And also, as you mentioned, we don't live in the times where bodybuilding is beneficial in any way. So what I personally find attractive is actually brain and education, because that's what is important nowadays. Because if I need something to lift something, I don't need a man or a person in general to do that. I have a machine, and that's cheaper and it doesn't get on my nerves. So that's the better option. And also talking about attraction, I believe that for me there's a difference between beauty and attraction. I might find a bodybuilder beautiful because of the symmetry, you know, and it's just fascinating what humans can do with their body, but I don't find that attractive, you know. I might find the Greek gods attractive, not attractive, beautiful, and I can put them in my apartment and just look at him, but I don't find that Greek statue attractive. That's just an object I'm looking at. So that's, I believe, a practical example, and it proves that that beauty is not something that we can find on the outside.
I agree. And I like kind of that analogy. And I want to play off the whole object but not attractive thing, is that I feel like when people do these things and they fall into this bodybuilding modeling kind of thing, a lot of people are objectified, if not all of them, because again, like you said, they're beautiful for the symmetry and stuff, but they're not attractive, if that makes like what you're saying. It's almost as though they're being objectified by the world for their beauty,
Absolutely.
handsomeness.
Absolutely. If I think about a bodybuilder, I don't even have a personality in mind. I mean, do you know any bodybuilder, any model where you think, "Oh, yeah, that's that personality, or that's a specific way to talk"? No, you just have the body in mind, and you could put a doll there or a statue, and that would be the same thing.
Right.
So that's actually alarming. That shows us that we're actually objectifying people, and that's dramatic.
And I
To
think
be
that
honest.
comes from the highly sexualized world where we have like pornography that's just everywhere and strip clubs and this and that. And people have really lost their dignity and knowing who they are. And so because of that, I mean, some people do that work for, I actually can't think of a good reason. But I don't know if somebody has a good reason, I don't know. But the main thing is like a lot of people are objectified and sold into sex slavery through those types of things. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough, is the fact that in a way, this culture is feeding into slavery still, and people are so unaware of it because it's not the traditional slavery we're all used to hearing growing up. It's different, but it's still slavery, and the whole objectifying people, that is what starts it.
I mean, I have to admit, I don't know much about sex trafficking and slavery of that type, but I mean, it sounds reasonable what you're saying.
It's probably more prominent in the US, maybe. I don't know if
That
it's
might
prominent in
be a thing.
Australia.
I don't know. I'm not too informed about that topic. But what I also wanted to mention is, I've said before that beauty is not something that we can find in the exterior, right? I mean, that's true to a certain degree, because of course we have beautiful objects, right? And there the beauty is on the external part, and that's also something where we have to find the balance, because it's not 100% true if we say that beauty only comes from the inside, because we actually have eyes, and those eyes can find symmetry and health beautiful. So we have to keep that in mind as well. And we also have to keep in mind that beauty is one of the most powerful means to evangelize, actually. So how we look matters for other people, because we make the topic we're talking about attractive. So for example, for us as Catholic YouTubers, it's important to look presentable in our videos. And no matter how beautiful Ambrose on the inside might be, for her for her YouTube community or for her social media community, what you look like on the outside also matters. So that's important. I believe that we should find a balance here. Maybe do you have some solutions for the problem when people now decide that yes, I have a problem with vanity, I struggle with vanity? What would you suggest they can do in order to combat that problem?
I think one of the biggest things that have helped me, because I definitely struggled with vanity in the sense of, and I didn't notice this until I started analyzing myself. I struggle with it in the sense of like both sides. Sometimes I worry about what I wear and if it'll be approved by others at my church. And then I go to the other side of it where I'm like, I don't want to be seen, like I'm just going to sit in the back and not talk to anybody. But then I am very social, so I don't fall into that one that easy. But I tend to worry about what other people think of me because I was judged so often during the summer based off of what I wear or what I looked like, whether I had blonde hair, brown hair. Like it was a huge deal. No matter what I did to change myself to fit what those people kept telling me to change, they always found something else that was like, you should wear more this, you shouldn't be wearing pants as often, like this is more attractive, that's not. And this was coming from men. So to me, I was like, well, what do I do? I'm so exhausted just trying to figure it out. And so eventually what I started doing was every single time I laid an outfit out to wear to church or to go somewhere where I knew these people were going to be, I just kind of stared at the outfit and I'm like, am I wearing this because it's something that would make God happy and would glorify him? Or am I wearing it because I'm afraid of what these men are going to say to me if I don't wear it, And so I started doing that with every single outfit I owned, no matter where I was going or what I was doing. I'm like, am I wearing this for the approval of God because it glorifies him? Or am I wearing it for the approval of others? And so that's one thing you can start doing, is really becoming aware of it, and like kind of talking to yourself out loud, like, am I wearing this mini skirt for the approval of others? Like, is it glorifying
Yeah,
God?
sure. And maybe also something to make that that plan more feasible, easier to put into practice, is to think that other people actually don't care that much about how you look, or don't care that much about you in general. That's a part of humility that actually, I believe, hurts, at least in my experience, to accept that truth, that other people, generally speaking, don't care about. And I think that might help with that choice, or that talk with yourself that you have there, when you ask yourself whether you were wearing that skirt to please God or to please the world, is I think it's extremely helpful to meditate on the fact that the people do not notice you in general. People are occupied with themselves. And I've heard somewhere that inspiring sentence, that you're the main character only in your own story. And in everybody else's story, you're the support cast, or I don't know how that's called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the
No, I
point.
completely agree.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that might be extremely helpful to understand that, meditate on that, and to live that truth. People don't care about you, so just live your life and live it to the fullest. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's important, and it's almost like a freeing feeling when you when that clicks, because then all of a sudden you don't have to live your life for others. You should live your life for Christ, but you don't have to live your life according to the other rules of these people. I know that was a huge, like, freeing thing for me when I realized, like, when I was shopping one day and I saw a dress I really liked, and I'm like, oh, but they would think this was too loud or too crazy or something. And then I was just kind of like, wait a second. I'm like, do I actually care though? Like, because I used to care so much, and it just became a routine. And I think that's another thing, is it can become a habit. And habits are hard to break, where you just start thinking automatically, like, what would this person think if I bought this? Instead of just like shopping for clothes you would like. And that's what ended up happening to me, where it's like, even after the fact, when I stopped caring about what these people thought, it was still a habit in my head to think, what would these people think? I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make
It
sense?
makes
Okay.
it makes absolute sense. And the benefit of habits, I believe, is that you can break a habit and you can make a new habit. And as you just said, habits are easy are hard to change. So if we succeed in making a new habit, that would actually benefit us in a very great way. Because if you make the habit of thinking that people don't care about me, and accept that, and people don't care about how I look that much, that will be a freeing thing, and that habit won't be that easy to break. So that's a huge benefit I see here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's another thing. It's like, if it's a habit, analyze that and figure out a plan to fix that habit. And habits are usually formed within, what, 30 days? So like a month or something?
27, I think.
Yeah,
27 days.
27. So it can be hard to break a habit, but if you're determined, and like, this has been bothering you for forever, I mean, it greatly helped my mental health to finally just be able to be like, I don't care what this person thinks, or I don't care what that person thinks. I'm going to wear this because it makes me feel pretty, and I feel like I look good in it. And so if they don't like it, well, that sucks for them, because they're not me, and they don't have to live with me. So I think that's definitely important too.
I don't know, is there something left we wanted to cover? I think we basically talked about everything.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else that we didn't cover. But I guess if people have, like, questions or anything, they feel free to comment them below. Maybe we can get back together sometime and answer any questions they have.
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. So I guess with all of that being said, that's basically it. So thank you so much for being on this video with me.
Sure. Thanks again.
Yeah. And one more time, where can my listeners and followers find you?
I'm on YouTube, mainly on YouTube, the Biblical Bookworm. And I also occasionally use Twitter, so also Biblical Bookworm on there.
Perfect. And I'll link all of those below for those who want to go follow you. So thank you again, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.